Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.
Hi, I'm Cherry Johnson with Watauga County Arts Council, and as you already know, one of the things we love to do is to promote any kind of art all through the community. Now, if you haven't guessed from the perennial birthday girl over here, we're celebrating a birthday. Let's talk about this. Keith, can you explain why we have this smorgasbord of people here today?
Absolutely. About 2.5 years ago, Gary and I were present at the founding of the High Country Theater League. We identified 3 to 4 dozen different theaters as far away as Mitchell County and Caldwell County and Wilkes. We came together to talk about how we could coordinate our schedules and not do so many productions of the same plays. And we're looking for a BHAG, a big, hairy, aggressive goal, some project big enough for all of us to participate in on a equal basis. And we knew that the 450th birthday of William Shakespeare is going to be celebrated on April 23rd of 2014. So we're doing a High Country Shakespeare celebration, but extended so far beyond theater, as you'll hear today.
I can tell. Okay, let me introduce who's here today. This is Betty Bond in the funny hat, and this is Keith Martin.
It's a birthday cake.
It's fun. So it's a funny hat. Keith Martin, who is the
John Blackburn, Professor of Theater at App. I teach at
I'm
App.
getting there. I'm still learning his title. It's been, what, 2-3 years now? This is Curtis Smalling, and if you recall Curtis way back with The Horn in the West, and when I saw you with all these theater folks, I thought, gee, I didn't know Curtis acted. So, but you're with the Audubon Society, right?
Correct.
And then Gary Smith with Ensemble Stage, which I imagine is a very familiar face to you. And I bet everyone's question is, why is Curtis here? Talk to us about this part.
Yeah, so I work for the National Audubon Society. I'm the director of land bird conservation with Audubon, North Carolina. And Betty Bond actually wrangled me into this. We've known for a long time that Shakespeare has a deep connection with birds, and with a few birds in particular here in North America. Way back in the 1850s, a movement started in Europe called the acclimatization movement to bring species from around the globe to new places that were felt to be beneficial for some reason or because of some aesthetic reason. And so in the U.S., the American Acclimatization Society started in 1871, and one of the first leaders of that, Eugene Schieffelin, I won't go into all the details, but he was a very ardent admirer of Shakespeare. And he hatched a plan to introduce all of the birds mentioned in Shakespeare's work to the U.S. And so they made several attempts to introduce a variety of species. Shakespeare mentioned some 70 to 90 individual species. They tried to introduce a bunch of them to Central Park in New York. One of those, the European starling, was the most successful one. They introduced 100 birds in 1880 and 100 birds in 1881. And by 2000, there were 200 million starlings in the U.S., all descended from those same, that original 200. Oddly enough, some would say ironically enough, the very first nest in the U.S. was in the eaves of the American Museum of Natural History.
In New York.
And of course now we know. Back then we didn't know as much about the ecology of introduced species. And so some of these species, like the starling, can wreak havoc on the native ecosystem.
They kind of took over.
They did, and they're a cavity nester, so they compete with our native birds for nests and stuff like that. But that connection to Shakespeare is why I'm here.
Gotcha.
That's why I'm here.
And on Saturday, the 26th, at Daniel Boone Gardens.
April 26th.
Saturday, the 26th of April, right. In conjunction with the Daniel Boone Gardens annual sale, their spring flower sale, there's going to be this party for the birds. And John James Audubon will be there leading tours. The local High Country Audubon Society will be leading tours, bird tours, and it'll be fun.
So birds of the barn.
Birds of the barn, right.
And we'll have Lise McCrae's Blue Ridge Wildlife Care Institute is going to bring some live birds for folks to see up close. And they even have an education starling that we'll be able to, folks will be able to look at a starling up close and personal. Even though we see them everywhere, you'll get to see one really close.
And Dr.
Sieferman at the university, she's the university ornithologist. I've been trying to get her to get some of her frozen starlings out of the freezer and have starling juggling.
Right.
Which would be very Shakespearean.
Trust Betty to come up with an unusual idea. She blows me away. So Gary, you're looking really awed by all this crazy stuff.
No, I tell you what, that is such a neat thing. I love the uniqueness of that, having the Audubon Society and that niche of talking about the birds that are in. I just think that's wonderful. I commend you on coming up with that. That's going to be neat, and I'm looking forward to that. That's for sure.
So your role in this whole Shakespeare celebration is what?
I don't know. I want to be.
All right. Yeah, come on the 26th.
On the 26th, come.
Ensemble stage, in the throes of everything else we're doing, we're doing the Scottish play as a staged 1940s type radio drama, which in my research I thought, well, that's rather unique. I'm quite proud of you, Gary, for coming up with that. Apparently it's not that unique, because Orson Welles did it back in the 40s and covered about 15 of Shakespeare's plays on the radio as radio dramas. And it's a neat kind of way to do it too, because it's once again, it's not only Shakespeare, and really when it comes right down to it, you think about Shakespeare and you think about the beauty of the words, and you think about the elegance of the rhythms and things like that. To me, what better way to filter everything else out than doing it as a stage radio play?
Yeah.
Because then it is all about the words. And yeah, we're going to have the sound effects done live on stage and everything, but really the focus, it's not a bunch of running all over the stage and things like that. It's the words.
Interesting.
And which I think is, I mean, to me, that's what Shakespeare is. And so to be able to honor him in that way, we're real proud to be a part of this whole thing that was set up honoring his birthday. And so we'll be doing that on May 17th.
No.
I think it's May 17th, yes. Is that correct, Keith?
That is
What is Ensemble Stage doing?
But are you also going to be at the mall?
I have no idea yet. You're not going to be able to pin me in.
We want you at the mall.
Well, we're very grateful to Ensemble Stage because most people have tended to the comedies or the musical treatments of the shows, and thank goodness for our resident professional theater and Ensemble Stage to tackle something with some meat to it by doing Macbeth, the Scottish play, one of the dramas. And we're at the midpoint of the High Country Shakespeare
I was getting ready to say,
celebration.
you're kind of the glue behind this whole thing. So tell us the whole
It's just
overall
like common
picture of
denominator.
this.
Well, it kicked off on St. Patrick's Day. And as you know from prior shows and other things your viewers have heard about, A Day in the Life of Shakespeare, which Leeds McRae College did with a mini Renaissance Festival.
Right.
The Shakespeare Symposium at Appalachian State that Dr. Paulette Marty put together that had people from Kentucky and the wonderful dramaturg from Playmaker Rep in Chapel Hill. Love's Labour's Lost, Derek Ganet's production at App State Theater. Kiss Me Kate, which just closed at the Hayes School of Music. We also have a part equal with the Women's Theater Ensemble. Those are the things that have already happened. But what's coming up now? A Sonnet Slam by the Blue Ridge Community Theater on May 2nd. The library is doing a birthday celebration that includes a new play called The To and Fro by Jeremiah Miller. I wasn't familiar with this work. It says Shakespeare wrote 884,421 of the most spoken words in the English language, but his testimony in the Ballot versus Mountjoy trial is our only record of words he actually spoke. We also have the complete works of William Shakespeare abridged by the Wilkes Playmakers. That's on May 2nd through 11th, An Evening with the Bard at Watauga High School. And this is when they're doing excerpts from several Shakespeare plays, but with a twist. For example, they're doing A Midsummer Night's Dream in Seussian verse, as if Midsummer Night's Dream was written by Dr. Seuss. And
Boy,
then
we're
just,
talking about combining all the masters.
I think it's pretty cool. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah,
Sarah
that'll
Miller,
be
leave it to her. And then last but not least, we have All's Well That Ends Well. Triad
a
Stage
good
is
ending
bringing
point.
that. We will end with All's Well That Ends Well. An Appalachian Summer Festival has just announced that they're bringing Triad Stage in from Greensboro. And that'll be the last official event, and that happens on July the 19th.
Wow. So we're really partying for quite a while
We really
here.
are. There's a lot to celebrate with Shakespeare.
There really is. Now, was all this your idea?
I won't say it was our idea. There are a couple of people sitting around after a High Country Theater League meeting, and usually there was alcohol or drinks involved, and we started thinking and we realized that 2 years from now, because this was in April 2 years ago, that it would be his 450th birthday, and it just everyone said, that's a no-brainer.
That's
It's something
incredible.
that, there are 4 productions of Midsummer Night's Dream, all the way from Parkway Playhouse in Burnsville, all the way down to Caldwell County, so people can see a variety. But what we hope, we've talked, is the crossover audiences. People say, how do you measure success? That's when somebody goes to an ensemble stage and hears about something that's being done at another theater. It's the crossover audiences, because everyone is promoting the other events.
Right.
And there's one Uber website, highcountryshakespeare.org, that has every event listed. And
That's
we also
wonderful.
post every article. We've got links to your prior shows. There'll be a link to this show on that website, so your viewers can find out everything they want to know in one
That's a
stop
really
shopping.
good idea. That's really a good idea. So we're gathering around and doing all this for months on end.
Look, Betty's
I just got so torn
Betty
up.
had
I
to party.
Well, and Betty's in charge of the, I don't know, Shakespeare's birthday is on a Wednesday this year, April the 23rd, which is 3 days after Easter. And we didn't want one theater to do something for that event, even though Kill Will opens that night. So we're doing a Bard Birthday Bash. And that's what Betty's in charge of.
On Wednesday at the mall.
That's
Yes.
correct.
Yes.
Wednesday, April 23rd.
Right, from 5:30 till 7. And there, how many groups?
We're
will
up to
be
like
there?
6 or 7 of the groups that we hope to hear from some others.
Yeah.
It'll just
We'll be doing
excerpts.
little fun stuff all over the mall. The mall is sponsoring this. There will be cake. Yes. And what's so interesting is that the cake will have that
Shakespeare
picture on it. Lowe's grocery store has the capability of getting a disc, and this picture of Will at his birthday party will be on top of the cake. I think that's just
Betty, you're
magic.
sound guy nuts. That's your jacket.
The little hooky is gone.
You
on
can
the
just hold
floor.
it.
The little hooky is gone.
Betty got so excited she destroyed the mic.
I don't.
I know we've got that logo that they can perhaps pop up on the screen. but,
Oh, here.
you
There
go.
it is.
We should go to someone else.
Is he going to be able to
Secrets
edit
behind the
this thing?
scene.
Is he going to be able to edit this? I hope.
This is just like live theater, folks.
Yes.
Talk about adapting and making anything
Right.
work.
How's that? Is that better now?
Okay. Well, I hope you got involved in the excitement and the fun and the energy behind all this celebrating. And, it is a special occasion. I mean, we don't have these big birthdays like this that often.
That's right.
So there's a good reason to get all crazy and fun. So,
This is a great year for all kinds of celebrations. I mean, this is not just Shakespeare's birth 450, it's
Correct.
Galileo's 450th. And so
you mean they're the same age?
they were born the same year. Yes. Yeah. I don't know whether he was born on April 23rd or not, but he was definitely born 450 years.
64.
Yeah. And when you talk about the 50th anniversary of the Civil Rights legislation, it's just an amazing year for celebrations.
But we had trouble finding Galileo plays, so we thought Shakespeare was a better fit.
Yeah. Seems like it was easier.
I think there's just about any excuse to party.
That's right. That's
I know Betty's gonna
Oh
agree
yeah.
with that
That's right. Exactly.
The thing that's been astonishing me is the breadth and depth of the community.
Yes.
I mean, when you have the Audubon Society working with the Danube
And the Danube Gardens, yeah.
And you've got all kinds of events, the Boone Mall participating. One of the hotels has a bed and bard package for people who are coming to the high country to
get a bard
see
with
the
your bed.
events. While you're here, so bring the bard. One of the steaks house, they're doing a little party and it's got steak, beer. Be steak and a beer. I mean, it's just people have taken this and run
This
with
is
it.
hysterical.
It's
Yeah.
just
It's really fun.
terrific.
Yeah.
And this does not even count the dozens. Derek Gagne, who heads our performance program, they've chosen their final scenes for this semester to be all Shakespeare monologues. And so they'll
Right.
be performing at Boone Mall during the Bard Birthday Bash. So it's just everyone has taken it and run with it. And I just think it shows that.
Yeah.
And what a creative crowd this is.
So what I want to know is, what are we going to do after this?
Oh, not to worry. Not to worry.
It's a topic for another program.
Don't worry, we'll bring it back and tell you all about
That's
it.
right. That's exactly right.
In the meantime, go to, what was the name of that website?
It's highcountryshakespeare.org.
And that's where they get everything they need to know.
Everything. The master schedule is in chronologically, all the articles that appeared, links to your prior programs and other events.
That makes it easy. And if you get lost, go to our website, watauga-arts.org, for information about this and a lot more.
Watauga Arts Council with your host, Cherry Johnson, serving arts in Watauga County for more than 30 years.